Hello, our friends, Evolutionary, Energy Arts family, EEARTS family, Patreon family, and Heart's Home family.
Hello there. Welcome back.
Welcome back, guys. Again, we want to thank everybody that is supporting us over on Patreon. You guys help us to keep going, and make sure you are subscribed to all three channels. Or if you're at Patreon, then you're good because you got everything. Every single thing that we ever do goes up on Patreon. So it seems Tesla keeps popping up in front of me a lot lately. And we were talking this morning about how somebody was saying he was literally a Venusian that came here to Earth to kind of spread the light, so to speak. And then the system got a hold of him and utilized him for what they could, and then discarded him. Well, I don't know about him being a Venusian. He was certainly an amazing channel, and he had the ability to tap into higher densities. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Well, he was, I guess we would call him a contactee, and he was a channel, and he brought some very important information to this realm, and how that information is translated down to each and every one of us is slightly different, but very deliberate. And I do see that the 3D matrix made many efforts to block his information.
Yeah, because obviously free energy, for one, that would destroy so much of what they have worked so hard to create.
Right, but the little do they know that you cannot completely stop his light. His light permeates to each and every one of us. So that information is still trickling to us, and it's really going to change people in very profound ways. Even though it's been dispensed and it's been slowed down, it's still going to reach us, and it's still going to do what it intended to do, and that is to lift us up.
So this statement's attributed to Tesla. Death does not exist, and with that very knowledge, the fear of it disappears. And remember, no man who existed died. They turn into light, and as such still exist. The secret is that these light particles return to the original state, return to one of the previous energies. Christ and some others knew this secret. I was searching for how to preserve human energy. It is one of the forms of light, in the soul, sometimes equal to the supreme celestial light. I did not search for it for myself, but for the good of all. I believe that my discovery will make people's lives easier and more bearable, and direct them to spirituality and morality. Well, there certainly is a lack of morality in the world, and a lack of discerning what is morality, because some of the things that have been deemed moral are certainly not, and vice versa.
Right. I mean, and when the guides were just kind of checking this with us the other day, there's certain ways to behave on certain densities depending on where you want to vibe at. But one thing that we don't do is we don't judge. That's not our place to judge. You know, the universe is to judge. The world that we live in, that is to judge. The natural consequences, that's the judge. You know, if we have a plant and we don't water it, well, the natural consequence or the judgment of that is that plant's going to die. And that's, to me, that's the end of judgment should end there. People shouldn't do that to each other.
Cindy knows I don't like to kill plants or tear things out. I'd much rather plant new plants. But there was a tree that was not looking too healthy, and so we took it down. I took it down yesterday. And, you know, the tree had actually asked her to be taken down. And as I'm taking it down, I'm realizing, you know, it had a serious infestation with fire ants, and they were just devouring it from the inside. And it got me thinking that this tree was probably in a miserable state of being. And so it did ask Cindy to please be taken down.
Right, and reutilized to be used for another purpose. Actually, you know, some people that garden out there might use ash. You know, they might use ash from other wood to help with their gardens, and this tree was asking to be utilized for that. But trees do not see things the way we see things. They don't see death as death. They know that they're going to be repurposed. This tree was simply asking, to have it a say into what its repurpose would be.
And this is, there's so much that is tough to get across because of the way we're brought up in these religious systems that so often just kind of block off the doors in our own minds. Our consciousness is part of a greater consciousness. It's part of a whole. And in fact, there is only the whole. The illusion is the separate consciousnesses. Just like, again, can you distinguish one drop in the ocean from another? They're all parts of the same ocean. And it's only when the wind maybe whips it up and takes some of that moisture up to the clouds that it'll fall as an individual rain droplet, but it's still really the ocean coming down.
That's right. There's many different rivers, but they all lead to one ocean.
And the ocean, the only true, real ocean that there is consciousness.
And it's a big one.
It is. Everything else is a playground, a learning ground. It's all temporary experiences. And so what Tesla is sharing here is really, it's Sanatana Dharma 101. And also, this is the same inner philosophy that's at the core of so many mystery traditions. And so this particular Imam is being quoted here. Imam Sadiq also said, "It seems to us that when a person dies, his actions and movements all come to an end. However, this is not the case. The matter will be converted into energy." Well, in fact, matter is energy. Everything is energy. Even the smallest particles of the human body are converted from matter into energy and will continue to move in the form of energy till the end of time. The physicist says that it is impossible to destroy the energy. There is no such action with which energy is lost. Matter can be converted to energy, while energy can be converted into matter, and essentially there's only the driving factor between the two appearances. And that's just a matter, again, of frequencies. And so one aspect of Brahman. Now, Brahman is the all. Brahman you could view as the ocean of consciousness. It's the self or the soul called the Atman. The Atman is everywhere, though you can't see it. Nothing that lives ever dies entirely. Not really. It just basically sheds a form. When a living thing dies, it's reborn into another form, a process known as reincarnation. Well, and in reality, we can go beyond reincarnation and say transmigration, because reincarnation is coming back into the same self form, where consciousness can split itself up, and this is where it gets kind of mind-boggling. But in reality, you are much greater than you realize. You're much more expansive than you realize. You are having more than one experience at one time. And it's mind-boggling to understand that. And it really, it's something that can't be realized certainly without extreme clarity. And this world's all about taking away any form of clarity.
Oh, it does. It does. I mean, it really, a construct is created and it is laid over us so that with our sight, with our spiritual sight, it is coerced, it is twisted, it is viewed in such a way that's going to give advantage to certain control groups. And that's just the way it is. But there is also free will. It's like we don't have to have things that way. If you choose to see things differently, if you choose to have a new point of view, if you choose, say, I want a new belief system, a new belief system is going to be brought to you. If you say, I want to see the truth, or I want to see my truth, the truth, your truth, is going to be brought to you. That truth that sits with your soul, where everything just feels comfortable and you can say, yeah, I get it.
Absolutely. For the soul, there is neither birth nor death at any time. It has not come into being. It does not come into being, and it will not come into being. It's unborn, eternal, ever-existing, and primeval. He is not slain when the body is slain, or it is not. Again, it's interesting, too, when you look to, say, the Golden Dawn, who is a magical group that included infamous people like Aleister Crowley, for instance. There is a ritual in the Golden Dawn tradition called the Bornless ritual. And again, the secret societies understand this. They totally understand this. The controllers understand this. Do they teach this openly? No, because it wouldn't serve their purposes. But this is the nature of it. We again, are simply having a human experience. You're not always, and the real you is not a human. You're having a human experience. This is all just an experience.
And I don't think that's to say to minimize any of our emotions in any way, shape, or form, because we came down here to experience them and to have our soul shifted and to have our soul moved in such a way that's going to bring about expansion. So I don't want us to be saying anything that's going to make anyone feel like, oh, okay, well, then nothing matters. It's really, truly a video game. I'm just going to go do this horrible thing. Don't do that. No, this is a very serious expansion, and this is what we are going to add to the whole. And everything that we do, every word that we say, every experience that we have is meant to go toward that larger aspect of ourselves, to bring about expansion, and it should be cherished. I mean, we are so lucky to be here. I mean, if you really sat and thought about it, how many hundreds of years it took, and how many love stories, and how many couples had to come together, for you to be here today from, say, 400 years ago. I mean, can you imagine? We've been standing in line for a very long time to find our place here on Earth. And through all of those love stories, through all of those strange, weird, twisted connections, here you are. And it wasn't easy. So I think each and every life that we have here on Earth should definitely be cherished. And we're very fortunate to be here to experience this density.
Yeah, I think that's important, because the guides came through again, and they basically said that in a slightly different phrasing. They just simply said, you don't have a body far more than you have a body. Having a body on the third density like this is actually much more of a rarity. And on the fourth density, which, the typical consciousness, unless it decides to go up back into the higher self, is going to reside in the fourth density after death. Now, some have such a attachment to everything in their lives, people, things, places, that they hang around. And they hang around sometimes for, in our perspective, hundreds of years before they'll move on. And, maybe decide to take another body, or maybe not. Maybe to go back up into the higher self. That's, again, an individual choice. It's not the case from what we have seen, per se, of an entrapment and trying to escape. Although there is a side to this system that's in place that very much is trying to entrap the souls. But the reality is they're not successful. The only thing they can do is traumatize to the point where sometimes people have a long period of time, relatively speaking again, till they're able to sort through all their trauma to be able to move forward again. And we're talking again about the soul. So, this is the reality. You're having a temporary human existence. And this is one of our main guides. This is Sri Anandamayi Ma, who is extremely beloved by both of us and has done so much to help us both in our path in this particular life. The ego, or I-ness, which is studded with desires, comes and goes. While for the Atma, there is no question of coming and going. Man, woman has a gross, subtle, and a casual body. The root cause of these is the Atma. Until this is realized, there is birth and death. The Atma is self-effulgent. In order to realize it, you have to remove the curtain. So, what causes us to be reborn? It truly is as simple as we just simply want to. That's as simple as it is. We desire to. We want to come back, whether it's, whatever the experience is. And, again, it could be a blessing and a curse to eat in this density, because we don't really eat in the other densities like we do here. We certainly don't. And when you think about it, it is one of the greatest pleasures in life. And yet it is also something that weighs us down. So, the desire itself to have these experiences over again is what causes the soul to reincarnate.
And I do think on a certain level we can get bored. We want to come and we want to have experiences. And sometimes we do that and we come down here and we might accrue some karma, so that when we do lose this body, we might be here because we want to watch something come to fruition, because we want to stay and guide a family member. So there's a lot that can go on, in these realms we call life and death, but there's also so much to be gained.
Both of my grandfathers died over 60 years ago, and neither one of them has taken another incarnation. And it's simply that they're helping guide, for the most part, me through this experience at this point in time, and other family members. And when we say that, we mean soul family members too, not necessarily physical family members, through their missions. So that is the case, where often they'll stay on the other density. Now, if there was no sort of desire to work through, sure, they could have come back right away. Sometimes people do come back right away, but often it does take a period of time before that soul has sorted through the lessons. Between my last life and this life, where there was 57 years of our earth time before taking another incarnation. And so, again, that's normal to take a time to introspect and to decide, what are we going to do next? Are we going to come back, or are we not? And are we going to maybe jump through a portal and go and incarnate in some totally different star system in a completely different form?
Because we can.
Absolutely. This is, again, a human experience, and I just really want to get that across. And so, these beautiful, amazing teachers that have guided us in all these different traditions, it's from a point of love that they want to let us know, again, that even though we all feel like we might fall short and, could have done better, there's no judgment from any of these higher beings upon us. Again, the only judgment that the soul faces is the judgment of the higher self, and deciding, well, I think I need to do this lesson again.
Right. Maybe you just didn't quite get it, or maybe you need a particular outcome, and to get that outcome, there needs to be certain actions taken, and that wasn't done on the last go around. So maybe you're going to try again. I mean, our bodies are filters, so we have to operate through certain laws, certain karmic laws. So how we get to things is not so important as the fact that we get there. You know, if someone needs to purge something from their body, say subconscious might decide that you go out and you have a few too many drinks and you eat a bad hot dog on top of that. So the next day you might be really not feeling well, but guess what? You purged a lot of physical things out of your body. It just your body just chose to take the story of, I ate this bad hot dog and I probably maybe overdid it a little bit the night before. That is a little bit difficult to understand, but understanding that we do tell ourselves stories so that we can experience the lessons that we need to experience, or the lessons that we wanted to experience during this incarnation. So the higher self and the subconscious, they work in very sneaky ways.
Absolutely. So that term Atman is basically looking at us from the eternal individual, or apparently individual aspect, which is all part of Brahman, and Brahman is the all. And so ultimately, again, we are consciousness, and this is a temporary experience. So I just wanted to let you guys ponder that, and I know many of you have, and have gone even deeper, and that's a blessing. Do share your comments and your thoughts and your feelings. As always, thanks for being part of the family. Source bless and namaste.
Namaste.